Science and Engineering. Today we are going to discuss the topic on templates in C++. So the entire session we are going to have the discussion on the following topics like function template, class template, and namespaces, and also we are going to follow some of the problem statements also. So now we are moving on to the template. What is the concept of template? Why we are going to use it? And what is the situation we are going to use the template? All these things we will discuss. So the template means, suppose for example, if you are having the function or the class, okay, so that function or the class implementation, we are going to use it for a generic data type. So what is meant by generic data type? It could be either integer or character or float or string, any kind of data type. Okay. So if you are using a function implementation or the class implementation only once, and that implementation, you can use it for any kind of data type. That is what we are saying, that template is using for a generic data type. Okay. And what situation we are going to use the template and what is the need of the template. So suppose for example, if you want to do the sorting process for a particular huge amount of data set. So the data set contains the integer value, character value, as well as string value, float, any kind of data. But if you are not using the template concept, then what we have to do, you have to write the separate function for handling the integer data and separate function for handling character data, string data, like that. So you are rewriting the same code again and again instead of avoiding that one. Okay, so instead of avoid the rewritten the same code again and again, we are going for the template concept. So in the template concept, what we have to do, only once you have to write the function code or the class code. So using this function code or the class code, you can able to perform the operations on the different data type. So you can reduce the amount of time for execution and reduce the lines of code in your entire application. That is a major thing. That is a major need of your learning the template concept. And that is the main objective of learning template concept. Now in your end, may you ask the question, then what is the difference between function overloading and function template? Is that no? So in the function overloading and function template, both belongs to polymorphism concept. So the poly in the sense many. That means the same function can be used for many different kind of purposes, right? In the major differences in your function overloading, might you had the session in the last class. So in the function overloading, the same function name can be used for different purpose. But here in function template, the implementation, especially the implementation of the function or implementation of the class, can be used for the different data type, used on different data type. Okay. And if you are taking some real-time application, okay, so suppose for example, if you are implementing a banking application as well as developing some commercial software, commercial application software in banking application and online reservation system, web application. So what will happen? A certain type of function or the class implementation can be repeated for many different purposes. In that kind of, only the data type is different, but the purpose is same. In that kind of situation, we have to apply the template concept, right? So now we move on to, we do have two different kind of template. We can use it for C++. One is a function template and another one is a class template, right? So the function template, in the sense what? Your template, your function implementation can be used for many different data type, right? So your function, that is, if you are using the function template, then that you can use it for the different kind of data type. That is the use of your function template. But When you use a normal function, what will happen? If you are writing a normal code, that will be applicable for only one set of data type. That is, for example, one set of data type. Say, for example, if you are writing a function, okay, so maximum of 2 number, if you are writing a function, if you're finding the maximum of 2 integer value, then you have to separately write a function for a maximum of 2 integer value. Again, if you want to calculate the maximum of 2 character value, then you have to rewrite the same code again for finding the maximum of character value. So that is the normal function. But when you come in for your function template, okay, so as you said, it is a generic, it work on a generic data type. So when you have a function template, only once you can write a function code. Say, for example, if you are writing the maximum of 2 numbers, okay, so the maximum of 2 numbers, so that procedure or the function you have to write only once. Okay, then based on the input, what input you are giving during your runtime, either it is an integer or it is a character, then accordingly your function template will work. Right? So only once you have to write a function template code, and that will be used for different kind of data type. That is what we are calling it as a generic data type. Now, the general format of or syntax of creating your function template, how we will create. So whenever you are writing any functional code or the program design, we have to follow some of the syntax or the general format. So the general format for creating your function template, see here you are writing template and class. The template is a keyword here. Template is a keyword here, and inside these two symbols, like inside these two symbols, we are having the template parameter. So the template parameter, the class, either class you can specify, otherwise the type name you can specify. Both the keyword you have to specify inside the symbol and specify the space, and also you have to specify the a template constant t. Okay. Now, as usual, you define the function. Okay. Generally, the function definition, how will you define the function? As the same concept, return type, and function name, return type, function name. Inside the bracket, you have to specify the arguments. Right? So here, why in the return type place, why you given t? In the argument place, why you given t, this t? The meaning is t is the generic data type. This t is a generic data type. Why? Because this particular function, the return type can be designed only during your compile time. Okay. Suppose, for example, if you are passing the argument as an integer, then this t will be act as an integer, and the return type is also integer. So the return type you are specifying t. Then that return type will be an integer. And sometimes if you are calling the function and passing the argument as a float, then this particular t will be act as a float, and the return type of the function is also a float. Okay, so this t can be decided during only your runtime or during only your compile time. Okay, so here I have explained the syntaxes here. So the template is a keyword, and inside this symbol you have to specify the template parameter. And here the t is a template argument that will accept either integer or float, etc. That means it is a generic data type. That is what we are giving as a t. And similar way, and coming to the class, right? So the class is a keyword. Here you specify the class. So the class is a keyword, or instead of class, you can use the type name also. So this type name sometimes you may use in the program also. So now coming to the execution time or compilation time. Okay, so the compilation time, how your function template will react. Okay, so how internally, how the process will be, that will be explained with this segment of code. Say for example, you generated one function template here. So this is your function template. So you declare the function template. I told the template is a keyword and you specify the either type name or class. Either both the thing you can write. Either class you can write, otherwise type name, and specify T also. Now, the return type is also a generic data type. So you are specifying T. MyMax is a function name. MyMax is a function name. And inside that, we have two arguments. One is X and another one is Y. So this X and Y it is a generic data type. So the type of X and Y, we represented T. Okay. So the generic data type, in the sense, it can be decided only during the compile time. Now inside the function body, we have some statement, like some conditional statement, which either X is greater or Y is greater. By using the conditional statement, the maximum value will be returned back to the main program. Now what will happen? Inside this main program, we are calling the function. Inside the cout statement, you are calling the function here. Say for example, how will you call the function? Or how will you call one particular person by his name? Yes or no? The same way, if you want to call the particular function, I have to use the function name. What is the function name here? MyMax is the function name. So using this function name, you are going to call the function. So while calling the function template, you must specify this data type as an integer, right? So inside this symbol, you have to specify this data type as an integer. And while calling this time, you have to pass the two arguments. One is called. While calling the time, you are passing two argument 3, 7. So 3 and 7 of the integer value. Now what will happen? Internally, compiler will convert the entire code into, that is, this 3 can be received by X and the 7 can be received by Y. Now the data type of the T will be act as an integer right now. You understood? So the function call can be rewritten by the compiler in this way. Okay. So once the function is executed, again, it will be returned back to the calling program. Where you called, here only you call. So the result is also returned back to here. Since it is a cout statement, the result will be printed here. You understood? Hope you understood. Same way, I'm going to call the same function with the other data type. It's called as a character. So no, so we are going to call the next same function with other data type, character. Now we specify the character. We are passing the two arguments. One is G and another one is E. So what will happen? This G can be received by X and this E can be received by Y. So if you are passing this character, now this T will be act as a character. Okay. So during the runtime, according to the user input, your generic data type will be react, either it is an integer or character or it is a float. That is what we used to call it as a generic data type. So now look at the nature of this function call as well as execution. Only once you return the function code, yes or no? But you are manipulating, you are using this function code for two different data types. One is called as an integer and another one is called as a character. So for using these two data type, you are using only a simple function code. Okay, so that is what reusing the code again and again, and you are reducing the number of code. In turn, you are reducing the lines of code and execution cost also drastically reduced. That is a major reason why we are using the function template. Yes, so this can be detailed explanation you can have with one for program design. Here, one simple function template, we used it here. Say for example, the same thing here, but along with the proper program definition is given here. So as usual, you include all your header file. Now define your class template. So the template, Remember that your template, while you are defining the function template, remember your general syntax. So the general syntax is what? Template, and inside this parameter, you have to specify the template parameter, class T. Either you can specify class, otherwise you can specify type name. Both keywords are same. And you have to specify the generic data type as T. And you are having one of the function is called, and function is called as a large. And the return type of this large you return as a T. As usual, why it is T? Because it is a generic data type. Either it could be integer, or it could be a character, or it could be a float, or it could be a string, right? So this can be decided only during the runtime. So at present, it is a generic data type. So now X is a generic data type and Y is also generic data type. Now inside the function body, we return whether X is greater than Y. If X is greater, then return X. If it is Y is greater, then return Y, correct? So once this function definition is over, you close the function definition. Now you start with the main program. So inside the main program, you declare all the necessary variable. See, for here, you declare 2 integer variable and 2 float variable and also 2 character variable. Now, by using some cin statement, you receive 2 integer values, right? So once you, in your hand, now 2 integer values are there. By using this 2 integer value, we are going to call the function. Where is the function call? This is your function call, large of I1, I2. That is, during the function call, what is the name of the function? Large, correct? So using the function call, we are going to call the function. So large of I1, I2, what will happen whenever you call the function will be get back to here. Okay, the respective function body, it will get back to the respective function body. Now the I1 can be received by X and I2 can be received by Y. What value you are passing? Integer value you are passing. So I1 is an integer and I2 is an integer. Now what will happen? This T will be act as an integer now. You understood? That is what we seen in the last program also. Now the dynamic thing, like during the compilation time only, the T can be decided by the compiler according to the input given from the user. So during the calling term, you are passing the argument I1, I2. So the I1, I2 are the integer value. Now these 2 integer value are received by the formal parameter X and Y, and these 2 X and Y are the integers. So this T will be act as an integer now. Once this function definition, now you compare whether X is greater or Y is greater. If X is greater, then it is going to return the X value, otherwise it is going to return the Y value. So by saying this, your return type is also integer. Yes. Now this return type, this T will be act as an integer right now. Once the function execution is done, again it will return back to the same calling program, right? So in this, it is a cout statement. So automatically the output will be printed here. Understood? So that is larger. Which one is a larger? It will be printed here. The output will be returned back to here and it will print the output also. And same way, you are going to use the 2 float value. You are going to take the 2 input value, float, taken the 2 float value from the user, F1 and F2. Now again, you call the function. As usual, you call the function large of. By using the function name, you are calling the function. Now again, what will happen? This will be control get back to your, the respective function block large. Now, the F1 can be received by the formal parameter X and F2 can be received by the formal parameter Y. Okay? Now, what is the data type of this T now? The data type of T is now float because you are passing the float values. Understood? And same way, after performing this process, you are returning the float data type, the float result. Your return type is also a float. Now this T will be act as a float. You got it? Now, so If you are passing during the function call, if you are passing the parameter as a float, then this t will be act as a float. If you are passing as a character, then this t will be act as a character. So from this, we can easily understand only once you are writing this function code, but this function code can be utilized for all kind of generic data type for performing the operation like integer, character, float, and string. So drastically, we are reducing the lines of code and reusing the code again and again. That is working on different data type. Got it? I hope you understood. I think so. So now, say for example, the sample output is given here. So you are entering the two integer value. Only one sample for integer value is given. So two integers we given, and 10 and 20. And after calling this function, this 20, the larger value is displayed here. Now the same function template, we can quickly go through the one more example for the function template for the better understandability. I hope you understood the concept. We can quickly move through this function template for the second example. Look here, we have to define all your header files, and followed by, now you define the function template. The whole thing is a function template now. So define your function template. Here you are specifying the swap function. The function name is a swap. Okay, the function name is a swap, and you are using the two argument. One is called as a n1 and another one is called as a n2. Hope you all learned in C programming language while learn this function concept. You learn the call by value as well as call by reference also. Yes or no? So the major difference between call by value and call by references, when you use the call by reference, if you are making any modification in this, that will be reflect back on your main program also. Okay. So I don't want to repeat the same concept again. So hope you understood that function concept in a C programming language. The same concept we used, call by reference, we used it here. So inside the swap function, we do have two generic data type. One is the n1 and n2, and we are using the address, right? Call by reference method, we are going to use it. Now you are swapping the two values, n1 and n2, by using the temporary variable, right? Now inside the main program, after the completing your function definition, template function definition, coming to the main program. In this main program, all the input be given here, like integer value, float value, as well as character value, all input be given in the program itself. Now, before swapping, okay, so before swapping, you display all the values like this, right? So before passing the data to the function, so we are taking the input value from the user 10, I1 is 10 and I2 is 20, like that. So the before passing the data, my data will be look like that, right? So now you call the function one by one, you call the function, right? So first of all, we are going to call the function swap. What is the function name? Swap is the function name. So with the support of function name, you are going to call the function swap. While calling the function, you are passing the two argument. Already we know that in our hand, we have the two integer value, I1 value, I2 value. So by calling the function itself, I'm passing this value back to this here, right? Now, I1 can be received by N1 and I2 can be received by N2. Okay? So now I1, N1 is an integer and N2 is an integer. Now, what is the T? What is the type of the T? Now T will be act as an integer. Yes or no? So the compiler during compilation time, according to the input which is passed by the user, if you are passing the integer value in the sense, now this T will be act as an integer. You understood? And again, once you got the value N1 as well as N2, now what will happen? Again, it will perform the swapping process. So whatever operation you are doing under the formal parameter, that automatically reflect back to your main program. Is there no calling program automatically reflect back in your main program. So After swapping, and similar way, you call the float value. Okay, so you call the function, same function, call the float value. While calling the function, you have to pass while you are passing the two float values, swap of f1 comma f2. Now this function will be passed here. The values will be passed here. Now this f1 can be received by n1 and f2 can be received by n2. Now the data type of this t will be act as a float. Right? Now after performing this swapping process, it won't return any value. That is what the return type we given as a void. Why it won't return any value? We no need to return because it is a call by reference method. Call by reference method in the sense, if you're doing any modification in your formal parameter or in your actual parameter, that will be reflect back in your actual parameter. If you're performing any process or any process on your formal parameter, that also will be reflected in your formal parameter. So you no need to return the result back here. So after swapping, automatically the swapped result will be printed here. So it will print the to swap the integer value and float value and also your character value. Right? So hope you understood here all the things. The major concept is only once we are any kind of computations you can do it. The thing is we want a concept like only once we are writing the swapping process. Okay, so this swapping process can be used for any kind of generic data type like integer, float, character, likewise. Right? Hope you understood this. So you can go for an online interpreter. So when you go for the online interpreter, some changes you have to do in your functional code. Sometimes it won't work in the void main. So instead of void main, you have to use the int main and you use the return statement, return 0 at the end. And similar way, if you're executing at the beginning, like if you're including the header file, iostream .h is not necessary. When you specify iostream itself, it will include all your header files. So now moving on to the class template. Yes or no? So the concept is same. Function template or class template, your concept is same. What is the concept? Either the function implementation or class implementation, you are going to work on the generic data type. Only once you have to write the implementation, and that implementation code can be used for many different kind of data type. That is called as a generic data type, right? So now the class template, coming to the class template as like a function template. In a class template, the entire class implementation, you are going to use it for a generic data type, right? So suppose for example, the what situation, okay? So what situation, what is the need of class template? When you how to use the class template, okay? So especially say for example, if you want a same class function, like the get data as well as display kind of two functions you are having inside the class. So the same class function, first of all, if you want to finding the maximum of two integer values. So what do you have to do? You have to implement the class with the two function. One function, you have to take an input value as an integer, and the second function, you have to perform the swapping process. Maybe third function, you have to display the output. So by using a single class, you are going to use a three function inside. Okay, the same way, if you are going to perform the operations on the float data, what I will do, again, you have to create the second class implementation with all three functions. Repeatedly, you have to use all three functions and you have to write a code for a float, getting a float value and swapping the float value and displaying the swap value. So three functions separately you have to write inside the class implementation. So it is a very, very tedious one. Yes or no? So that is what the major feature in C++ is called as a template. We can use it. So what is our objective? Only once we are planning to implement the class function, entire function. Okay. So using that, the same implementation, we are going to work out on the different data type. That is called as a generic data type, right? So if you're not using the class template, what will happen? It is very, very hard to maintain your entire code, correct? And if you're doing any changes, that changes will be performed in all classes and function. It is a repeated code. It is a code is repeated again and again. So if you're doing any changes in one class and function, that will be repeated in all repeated codes. In order to avoid that, we are going to make a class template. So the class template is especially for only once you are going to write a class template. Then using that class template, you are going to work on all kind of data type. So when you go with the program example, you can understand better. Yes. So as like function template, we do have a class template general format or the syntax. Before going to the program design, we must know the general syntax or the general format of defining your class template, correct? So again, the same procedure. Again, template is your keyword, and inside this symbol, you have to specify your parameter. One is called as a class, and specify your template constant as t, and instead of class you can use type name keyword also. Now again, this is a normal as usual your class definition. Generally, how to create the class name, same here also. Specify class is a keyword and class name is a user defined class name. And this inside your class body, this is your class body. So inside the class body, we do have some private section, and also we do have some public section also, right? So look here, in this public section, what we have done, in this public section, we have one variable. That variable data type we given as a t. What is t? It is a generic data type. I cannot decide during your initial time, we cannot able to decide what type of variable it is. Yes or no? So during the compilation time, if you are using your input variable as an integer, then this t will be act as an integer. And if you are using float as a variable, then this t will be act as a float. So this can be decided only during your runtime, correct? And same way, inside the class, I have one more function is called as a function name, and we have an argument. The same way, this argument cannot be decided. This argument cannot be decided at the very beginning. So during your runtime, if you are using the integer variable, this t will be act as an integer. Yes or no? And if you are using a float during your runtime, then this t will be act as a float, as usual, normal procedure. And the return type also, either it could be integer or float, or it is a character. That is what we are returning. It is a generic data type t. Yes or no? Once the class definition is over, you can close the class by using the semicolon, as like a normal way how you can close the class. So the class close must be entered with semicolon, correct? So this explanation, what I have told, I have written here. So T is already we know that it is a T is a template, and all the members of this function is the class can be defined inside the class body. And now, if you are going for the class concept, surely we need to create the object of your class. Yes or no? Without object, you cannot able to access the data. Without the object, you cannot able to access the data as well as function present in your class. So that whenever you are using the class concept, you must create the object for accessing your members of your class. Yes or no? So that we are going to create the object of your template class, not a normal class, object of a template class. Now, let me know, please recollect the concept of your class and object. Okay, so how will you create the class object? Right? So how will you create the class object? Class name, yes or no? So the class name and specify object name, space object name, correct? But here only the difference is you have to specify while creating time, you have to specify the data type. That is the only difference between the normal class object creation and class template object creation. So normal class object creation is class name space object name. But here you have to specify the data type. That's the only difference. So class name is a already defined class name. Is or no class name and data type. Your class at present, your class is going to work on which data type, that data type you have to specify and your class object. Say for example, here we created two classes here. One is, say for example, my class name is a calculator and object name is object one. Right? So if it is a class template, only you specify the object, data type is called as an integer. The meaning is now your class implementation is going to perform the operation on integer data type. And similar way, you can create any kind of object on different data type. Got it? See, listen here. Here only the class implementation is only once you done, right? But with the support of the object on the different data type, you can able to call the function that is going to work on different data type. That is a major concept behind your class. Okay? So once you go with the program example, you can easily understand about this. Now listen here. So now these two include all your header file, include the header file and followed by, include the header file and define your class template. Okay, so as usual definition, so template, and inside that simple, you have to specify the template parameter, class and t. Now you specify the class, the total thing is called as here, from here to, till the end. Till here, from till here you have a class definition, right? So what is class definition? We do have some data member as well as member function. How many data members we have? The num1 and num2 are not decided at the beginning, right? So if you are using the integer data type, the t will be act as an integer. If you are passing the float as a data type, then t will be act as a float. Like